used to it. Courtney didn't even have a ring on her finger when they left for the weekend, and came back with a gorgeous diamond solitaire and a wedding band. Courtney stepped back into work on a Tuesday, never missing a beat and never mentioning the rock on her finger. But she did have a permanent grin and a skip in her step. Once I heard the wonderful news, I had a grin and a lightness to my step, too. I couldn't have been happier for them. Nick and I always thought they were the perfect couple. I was so glad that Nick mentioned San Francisco and not Vegas, since I did not want to be the next couple jetting off to elope. Marriage was still not what I saw in my future. Nick and I had a pretty good thing, and I was terrified that a piece of paper would ruin it. But once in a while the pang hit me. I'd shake it off and think of something else. I looked down at my bowl of Raisin Bran and decided I wasn't hungry anymore. Still in my pajamas, I debated going for a run or going back to bed. Going for a run was a feasible choice. Going back to bed was not. I'd compromise and just go take a shower. Nick leaned down, kissed me on the lips, and said, "My dear, I love you to the end of the earth. Let's see what we can do to get some time off together. It's been too long." I looked at him with my brows raised nearly to my hairline. "Excuse me? Too long? You realize that as long as we've been together, we've been working. We're lucky if we get the weekend together." Nick winked. "Every time I get to spend 24 hours with you, completely uninterrupted, I consider that a vacation." The light wrinkles at the corners of his gray eyes made his smile so much more endearing. They were new, or maybe I just hadn't noticed them before now. But I loved that we were changing together, getting older and still enjoying each other. We both laughed. "I'm just happy we get to have breakfast together once in a while." Lola stood at the sliding door, whining. Nick opened the door to let her in, then turned back to me and said, "I hope you have an uneventful day. Love you." I ogled his ass as he walked out into the yard and off to work. And I noticed the sun had gotten caught in the clouds, and the temperatures had maybe chilled a bit. This sudden change always made me think something terrible had just happened, and the universe knew it. Our jobs made us cynical. Between his job as a homicide detective and my job as a private detective, we had the weirdest hours. But it's not like we both didn't know what we were getting into. As the owner of the Gotcha Detective Agency, I spent almost as much time on the business end of things as I did actually working as a private detective. But I loved my work, as did Nick. Except when our worlds collided on a case. Then things got a little tense. It had been a few months since our careers had collided, and I hoped for a few more months. Even years. Things were really good right now. Thinking about how good they were made me blush. On that thought, I dumped my cereal down the sink and put my bowl in the dishwasher. Lola followed me into the bathroom and blocked the doorway by laying down right in front of it. I turned on the water to heat it up and stripped down to enjoy a long, hot shower. Before leaving for work, I enjoyed one last cup of coffee while I checked the GPS on all of our work cars to see where my detectives were working. It looked like my mom, Lydia, my newest junior detective, was sitting outside an apartment complex in North Salinas. Courtney's car was on the move, headed back toward the office. If I remembered correctly, she had a long morning of running errands. I had a few errands of my own to run, then planned to be in the office by 10. I sent my mom a text message, asking if she'd like to have lunch around 11. Lydia was never one to turn down food, so she texted back that she thought it was a great idea and wanted Mexican. Lola and Lydia weren't the best of friends, so I left Lola at the office while I lunched with Mom. Best not to antagonize either one of them. Little did I know that when I invited her to lunch, I'd barely have time to eat that day. What had been planned as a catch-up on paperwork and errand day turned into a full-fledged investigation. Chapter 2. Lydia had fallen in love with her job as an investigator. She'd taken to wearing only black, but in a much more stylish manner than me. And she'd started running. My mom, a runner. Who'da thunk it? Sure as hell not me. She wore black leggings with a short A-line skirt and a button-up black shirt with no collar. She accessorized with black and ivory glass beads on her neck and wrist. Not only had she taken up running, she'd decided it was her best to learn to run in combat boots. And she wore said black combat boots with her ensemble for work. Too cute. Love the boots, Mom, I teased. You never...